Good evening and welcome. Thanks for coming. Let's start by standing in our Tadasana. Tadasana Namaskara. Hands at the heart. Listening, responding. So there's an openness. Listening, responding. So there's an openness. We've got the hands at the heart in the Namaskara. Breathing through our noses. We've got the feet close all together. Obviously, whether they're close or together changes in different circumstances. And we're breathing through the nose. So, maybe the thighs are together, but not the feet. That's fine. But you just bring your legs, whether it's feet and thighs, whether it's just thighs and not feet, you bring your legs as close together as is comfortable. And then moving your feet to move the connective tissue to loosen up the tendency to grip, grasp, and grab. So this opening up, I was listening for a little bit of the day-to-day to the Vajrachedika Sutra, beautiful, or the Diamond Cutter Sutra, as it's called. Incredible sutra, actually, in the Buddhist tradition. And the Diamond Cutter Sutra is all about cutting away ideas, opinions, views, mental formations, so that the yogin can be empty. So that's what we're doing now with our feet. We're moving in ways that encourage us to drop anything. It's not like we're dropping the things we don't like and keeping the things that we do. Anything that can come up, ideas, problems, opinions, concepts, mental formations of any kind, the yogin really starts to trust, not grasping, but letting go. And the movements we take in yoga will really encourage us to do just that. So I'm making those movements now with my feet. I'm lifting up the instep of one foot and then the instep of the other. And tuning in, tuning out to tune in. We're going to raise the arms up, lightly tone the tummy so it draws in and up, and investigate Muladhara, buoyancy at the pelvic floor. Mula plus Adhara. Adhara means support. So it's supporting from the root energy or consciousness or awareness, staying in the central channel in a visceral, a direct physical sort of way. Then we're going to bend the ankles, knees, and hips. And as we hinge forwards, we're going to turn around. Actually, I'm a bit too close to the wall to extend my back arm, but you get the picture. Turning around. And then similarly, the other way. Like a sort of aeroplane turning. And we're going to do that a couple more times, just turning around, breathing without holding the breath. And of course, any movements that are spontaneous and natural and helpful. Once we've completed 3 times on each side, 6 in total, then we'll come back to the center at that point. Sit as low as you're comfortable to sit, and then play with up-down movement without holding the breath. Lean forwards over your legs and reach for the floor with fingertips. So the knees are bent, breathing's deep. Perhaps there's some oscillation of the pelvis that's helping to loosen the back. And it may be that some people even feel that it's conducive to their release to straighten the legs. That's the case for me, but it shouldn't be confused with a goal. Like I'm trying to straighten my legs. That's the goal. No, the goal of yoga is not straight legs, but absorption. And absorption is always indicated by the breath, which is why we have this trilogy in Vajrasati: Lila, Artha, Lakshana. Purpose, play. That's the movements we investigatively move around. That's Lila. For the purpose, the Artha means purpose of absorption. And Lakshana, look for the signs of that, the breath releasing. And that's the whole path. That's all you need. So knees are bent, knees are straight, doesn't matter. From here, we are going to bend the knees if you did straighten them, and then bring the left hand on the floor, turn around, one hand on the sacrum, the bony plate above the tail, and one hand on the floor. But it's not about the position. If we think about yoga as the positions, we soon find with a bit of investigation that so many of the positions that we think of as ancient yogic practices are not. And so our yoga can collapse or just turn into some weird form of cultural appropriation. But if instead you consider yoga poses to be a vehicle to absorption, then we're really pointing to what we might say is traditional goals of yoga. We go back round the other way. Similarly, hand on the sacrum, that's bony plate above the tail, below the lumbar, below the lower back. Don't hold your breath. Letting go, let the vajrachedika, the diamond cutter, the mind just sort of drop concepts and opinions and become open and spontaneous. Back to the center. Highly recommend you to that text, the Vajrachedika Sutra. Raise your arms behind you, raise the arms forwards, breathe easy. Now I've taken a low squat. It could be higher, or it could be something in between low and high. And you can oscillate if you want. I find it useful. You can see I'm oscillating here, and you can do that if you want. And when you're ready, stand up all the way. Very good. Big circle, hands to the heart. I'm sure we're all going to feel some deep breaths coming and going now. So let's go with those deep breaths. It's very important. It's like a big spoon that's stirring a big pot of porridge. And sometimes porridge gets lumps in it, but if you stir, you can stir those lumps out, make it smooth again. So the smoothness represents flow, vahita. And flow, vahita, means we're not getting caught on anything in particular. In other words, we're cutting away priorities in terms of, I want this and I don't want that. We're allowing Prakriti to just be one field without bias, without saying, well, this bit of the goddess I like and this bit of the goddess I don't like. You realize that it's one field. You can't get this bit without getting that bit. You can't get rid of this without getting rid of that. It's all one thing. When you're ready, step your feet, excuse me, hip width apart. Have a look down. Make sure your toes aren't turning out or turning in, but they're straight ahead, which we ascertain by imagining a line that runs through the gap between the second and third toe of each foot. Okay, so broad feet. Again, raise up if you're ready. You don't have to look up. We have to adapt. The body's always changing. Our anatomy and physiology is variable. And that's why yoga is really, it's important that yoga is listening, responding. And that we reprioritize. We don't think of yoga as attaining the poses, but instead an opportunity to be very, very honest and to work with that honest experience towards letting go. I mentioned this text, the Vajrachedika Sutra. When you're ready, bend ankles, knees, and hips and reach down. Of course, I've not mentioned it, but you can use blocks for your hands. Don't hold your breath. You can use chair. Sometimes a chair is nice for your head to go onto. What's great about yoga is there's never really any condition, really, where you can't do some sort of yoga practice. As long as you understand it's not the poses, but what we're using the poses for. So you can use any pose for that aim. So again, got the knees bent, but it may be that you want to straighten the legs. I'm straightening mine because it feels right, not because I'm ambitious or trying to prove a point, or because I think that that's the pose. And when I straighten my legs, I'm doing it through a process. My body is moving left and right. I'm lifting heels alternately rather. And so I'm using movement to loosen off tension. And tension, of course, is associated with stories about myself, stories about the world, stories about anything at all. And the diamond cutter, the Vajrachedika, is all about cutting away stories and leaving ourselves empty, storyless, which of course facilitates spontaneity. From here, we're going to come down to a regular squat. Now, for many of us, squatting will require blocks under the heels so that the heels aren't raised up. We're going to spend a bit of time just like this. I was fortunate that one of my first teachers, who was called Surata, he was very keen on squatting. So, from an early age, yoga, when I was 20, started yoga. I prioritized squatting. So I can squat okay. But sometimes, even if you practice it a lot, it's hard to get the heels down because the calcaneus tendons might just be tense or short, or the bones on the top of the feet might be high. The talus bone, it might be, we sometimes call it a popped talus, because it pops up above the other bones, and then that gets in the way of the ankle coming forward. So blocks are useful. While I'm talking, I hope you're looking for your own releases. Remember, yoga is all about just repetitive release. Release and there's nothing that we're going, well, I don't want to release that. I release everything else, but not that. We release, there's nothing we need to hold on to at all. So it's this process of letting go. And we know that physical tension is connected with respiratory tension, is connected with mental tension, and that mental tension is a form of belief that certain things are more mine and other things are less mine. That's what attachment is. It's the belief that something is more mine than something else, when actually everything that we can label is interdependent. A few more breaths if you're happy like that. I'm circling my pelvis. I've got my hands together in a sort of fingertips position, which is indicative of a sort of sensitized space. So I'm just circling my pelvis. You might want to do that. You might not. Obviously, the tibialis anterior on the front of the shins sometimes gets a little bit, ouchy, because it's working to stop you falling over. Okay, when we're ready, we're going to come down. We're not going to fall over, I hope, but we're going to come down onto our backs. If you feel dizzy or disorientated when you lay down, which as the years have gone by, I sometimes, quite often I do actually, and that's just to do with some stenosis in the neck, which causes pressure on the arteries. And that's just normal, everyone gets older. But if you do, you can put support under there. It really makes a difference whether your head is tipped back a bit, can cause more dizziness, or whether it's you keep the back of the neck extended, which support, whether it be a blanket or whatever, can do. When you're ready, lift your feet. Very simple, isn't it? And then extend your legs. And of course, it's our Thursday night. I always used to look forward to Thursday night when I was young because Top of the Pops were on. But now I look forward to Thursday night because, we do this together, which is really nice. And so let's make it nice. It's natural. It's honest. The legs might go one way or the other. They might pull more or less. They might come together or apart. It's not about what they do, but about what it does for you, isn't it? When you're ready, raise your arms up as well. Okay, and then we're going to try circling the feet and hands together. So it's a bit like you're conducting your feet with your hands. So the direction you move your hands is the direction you move your feet. And that's the easy bit, okay? So breathing easy, breathing natural, going one direction, going the other direction, just circling round feet and hands, drawing circles. And then when you're ready, try just one hand conducting one foot. It's got to go the same way as the foot. Okay. And then the other foot, the same thing, circling and then circling. Then we're going to try opposite hand, opposite foot. So conducting the foot and conducting with the hand. It's a little bit more tricky. And then the same on the other side. I can feel myself get disorientated. And it's got to be both directions simultaneously. So it's great for balancing the brain hemispheres. Keep going back and forth between the feet, like that. One foot and the opposite hand conducting, and then the other way. Quite tricky, I find it. Maybe you find it easy. Okay, and once you've done both arms, both legs like that, we're going to sway the arms side to side with the intention to pick up each shoulder blade as the arms go to the left. The right shoulder blade picks up. As they go to the right, the left shoulder blade picks up. And you just keep picking up and walking out, picking up and walking out. So the bottom inner edge of this shoulder blades, the inferior medial edge of the shoulder blades, is walked out and up as we bring the arms over. And that creates really a lot more integrity, a lot more integrity. So you just keep going with that, walk out and up. And eventually, if you keep going, then you can really work, cell by cell, pausing when you need to, doing any actions that you need to. So I'm working with a little injury on my left side from my second motorcycle accident of my life. So the body needs what it needs. That's what I'm saying. You work with it honestly. You don't ignore it. You listen to it. What it needs now might be different to what it needed, a fortnight ago or a week ago. Once you're comfortable, and you might still be adjusting, and that's good, then we stay in Urdhva Prasrita Padasana, upwardly extended feet, for a couple of breaths. Jaw soft, eyes soft, throat soft. We're going to work with opposites. So opposite hand, opposite leg. Opposite hand comes up to the leg that's going down. Okay, to wherever you come to. And then vice versa, it goes back up as the leg comes back up. And of course, you do the same on the other side. Opposite hand to opposite leg. And then it's almost as if you've got a piece of elastic attached to that leg on the way back up. And you just keep swapping out in your own time. Let's try to avoid holding the breath. And let's try and really feel that we've linked up. It's like we're being like a magician, linked up the hand and the leg, so that there's a sort of field of connection between them as they move. We're doing 3 on each leg, by the way. So you might be getting close to that now. Keeping the lower back really close to the floor. Maybe you're on the last one. Maybe you've done the last one. I don't know. Or maybe you've got a couple more to do. That's fine. Keep practicing until you finish your 3 on each side, and then go back to Urdhva Prasrita Padasana with arms up and legs up. Breathing natural, breathing easy. Now we're going to imagine that there's a piece of elastic between our hands and legs. We're going to imagine that we're pulling on that piece of elastic as the legs and hands move away from each other, and we're letting it recoil as they move back towards each other. So there's this pulling, strong stretching, and then recoiling. Not holding the breath. There's a pulling, strong stretching, and then recoiling. How low down you go doesn't matter. Well, it matters to the extent that, the actions are something you can really meditate on. So too much or too little isn't helpful. You've got to get the right amount. And our intention is just to create that sense that there's a piece of elastic between the legs and the arms. So it's, it's yoga mixed with mime. Until you can actually feel it. It means that if the legs go down low, it's like that piece of elastic is really taut between the legs and the arms. Okay, a couple more, if you're okay with a couple more. Definitely not holding the breath, keeping that flowing. That's great. Okay, when you're ready, bend your knees, hug your legs, give them a good old-fashioned hug, and roll around in a way that suits you. Sorry if I sound like one of the characters from the Fast show. But roll around in a way that, you can forget everything. Rolling left, rolling right, breathing easy, looking to forget everything by remembering this. I've compared it to tuning out of one radio station by tuning into another. One radio set can't emit two radio stations through its speaker at the same time. So tune into this and you'll tune out of all of that. Concepts, ideas, worries, expectations about the future, and so on. When you've had your fill of rolling around, and if you're like me, you could roll for quite a bit longer. We're going to go through the legs and hold the little toe side of the feet, that is. And then playing with this, sometimes people call it these days Ananda Balasana. I say these days, I mean, it's been kicking around for 20 years, I think. But that seemed like quite a new thing to me, so I still think of it as quite new. Ananda Balasana. People call it laughing baby, don't they? So it's really great, really fun translation of those words. Ananda, we know, means bliss. And Bala is a little girl. Bala is a little boy or infant. So we could also translate this as a blissful infant. That's the spirit we want, What is blissful about an infant is that they don't consider that their history, they haven't got one yet, they're just an infant. They don't consider their future, their job, how their hair's looking. They're not worried about their figure. They're not worried about their pronoun or, what people think of them or anything at all. They're not even particularly cognizant of their own name. So that's the blissful. No story, no religion. Kind of, a bit like John Lennon's song, Imagine. Now, because it is so lovely, the Ananda Balasana, you could probably roll around for a good while. But we'll come out when we're ready, nice and easy, nice and gentle. Feet on the floor, hands behind the head. Actually, you know what? Let's get those feet up off the floor so that we can keep flexed in the hips. So as you can see, my thighs are quite close to my pelvis. And we're just going to let the legs rock backwards and forwards. This obviously massages the back, and I hope you've got a reasonably kind surface in the form of a thick enough mat, or if not, you can of course pad it out more, blanket. But it pushes the floor into the back in a way that I hope is nice for you. And as the legs move towards and then away, it's all about the breath. It's all about the breath. It's just a very, 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 very simple massage. Now we're going to lift up the head as well. And I've noticed over the years that sometimes it feels nicer to hold the neck with the hands. It can be really nice for the muscles, really contain them in my hands, or sometimes to go higher to the scalp, the top of the skull, or on the back of the skull, or all three. Choose on the basis of easefulness. We're still rocking the legs, whether you're experimenting with your hand position or not. And then we're going to extend one leg out about 45 degrees and then retract it and do the same with the other. We're going to do that a few times, extending and contracting, extending and contracting. And of course, not the action isn't the yoga. Using the action as a way of reabsorbing interdependence by feeling the body and the breath and the mind come together. Backwards, forwards, really nice, really pleasant. Of course, if your back does feel tight, try kicking a little higher up, not as low down to the floor, because lower down does take a little bit more abdominal tone to control it. Sometimes the abdomen doesn't want to work that hard, and so it makes the back do it instead. So take the feet higher if you need to. Of course, you can have your head down as well, but we're actually going to retract back when we're ready, open the angle at the back of the knees, and we're going to go opposite knee, opposite elbow. That's it. And then the other way as well. We're going to keep that going, but keep the calmness as our focus. So we're going to do 5 of these on each side. 5 of these on each side. I think I might have done 6 by accident. You can do 6 if you want. I'm going for 7 now. I've got into it. Okay. But if you need to rest and settle, then rest and settle whenever you want. And then it's deep breaths. Okay, deep breaths. So 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 deep breaths. It's like a closed fist becoming an open palm. Let's think of yoga like that. Dropping, dropping. Letting go, like dropping a stone into a stream from a little bridge. It's not hard, you just gotta let it go. But sometimes we don't want to let go because it's complete. But letting go is total. There's no partial letting go. Imagine someone trying to let go of a stone but saying, well, can I just let go of it a bit? If you're letting go of it a bit, you're not letting go at all. You're still holding on. Letting go is an open palm. Letting go is total. Letting go is now. Letting go is trust. Letting go is total. Letting go is now. Letting go is trust. Letting go is total. Letting go is now. Letting go is trust. Release your hands from behind your head and roll over when you're ready, facing towards this side of the room. Now, you know probably that you can support your head in various ways in this. So you can, for example, support your head with your hand, making sure you've extended your bottom ribs and your armpit, or you can extend your arm and put some support between your head and hands. I'm just pretending with my hand here, but a block, maybe a blanket, or similarly, maybe 2 blocks and a blanket with your arm forwards and head supported. But we don't want the head drooping down or hanging. It's got to be supported. If you take one of those other positions, make sure you've got support. From any of those positions, without any haste, of course, when we feel ready, we'll just roll forwards and backwards. So it's the Anantasana. Ananta means without end. Is the alpha privative. It usually appears as an A or an AN. It appears as an AN before another A. So Ananta. And the endlessness is opening up to the reality of change rather than the mental constructs that we superimpose on our reality. It's like this or it's like that. So just rolling forwards, rolling backwards, breathing easy, calm and easy. Meditation. Obviously, we can roll like that for a long time, but we're going to raise the top leg up as high as we're comfortable to raise it without the muscles going into cramp and breathing easy. And then we're going to tune in actually on the pelvic floor. Now, my top leg is oscillating to indicate that my approach is not tight, it's not locked. So my leg just oscillates a little bit to indicate to myself that this is a loose thing. It's a loose thing. And of course, the breath is the ultimate sign of whether it's loose or not. Okay, lower the leg a little so that you feel it's low enough for you to bring the other one up to meet it. And so both feet are off the floor now. The tummy usually kicks in when you raise the legs up because it's keeping the stability between the front and back of the body. So it's a subtle thing, but it's definitely bringing abdominal tone. We're not holding a breath. We're breathing through our nose. We're keeping cool, calm, collected. Okay, legs down, head down, knees up, come up, roll round to the other side. And this is the side that's a bit more tricky for me because of those little RTA injuries. So I'm getting some blocks in case I need them. It's just a bit fragile. But that's the great thing about yoga equipment, isn't it? You know, if it is a bit fragile to support, actually it feels okay. Then you can use blocks between the arm and head like this, or maybe a block and a blanket, or with the arm forwards, as I mentioned before, like that. That works very, very nicely as well for Anandasana. Either way, we're rolling backwards and forwards, looking for the tastiest morsels of sensation that we can lose ourselves in. You know, all those labels that sort of got stuck on us. Half of them we didn't even know how they got there. Sometimes they're labels that other people put on us that we unconsciously adopted. Other times they're societal labels to do with gender, labels to do with age, labels to do with what you do for a job and where you come from, and you know. Just rolling, meditating, meaning we're using these sensations to release all of those labels, all of that history, and the projected sense of future as well. All goes. When we're ready, we come back to an uprightish position, and we're going to raise the top leg as high as we're comfortable without going into cramp. Of course, we're using abductor muscles. The legs are being abducted, being pulled away from the midline. So as you engage the abductors, again, let's indicate that we're not gripping, we're not furrowing our brow, clenching our teeth, none of that. This is a dance. It's a dance. It's an open palm. So when you get it right, as the yoga texts tell us, it becomes an experience of timelessness or being unaffected by time, because we're not trying to get from somewhere to somewhere else, which is a definition of time. And bring your leg down a little lower so you can bring the other one up to meet it. Breathe through your nose. And again, you might feel the legs might go backwards and forwards. It's a little bit mermaidy. As the legs go backwards and forwards a little bit, you might feel your tummy muscles. As the legs go back, the tummy's holding the pelvis. So it's this relationship between back and forwards. And of course, probably by now, some of us are starting to get a bit of cramp or tense muscles. So we're going to come down. We're going to bring those knees up. We're going to come up calmly from the side. We're going to extend our legs out in front of us. And you might need to sit on a block, so have one by your side. We're going to come into Gomukhasana, which has long since been a favorite. I've never tired of Gomukhasana. So we're going to do this. There's various ways of coming in. I've always favored swinging the legs around to Bharadvajasana and then the top leg up and over the bottom leg. Of course, this is where you might want to sit on a block or even two. And you can also do things like use a blanket between the knees, or even a blanket between the top and bottom knee, and then the same blanket under the bottom knee as well. That can be very, very supportive, very helpful. 1 foot back, 1 foot forwards. Breathing through your nose if you can. A little bit of massaging it in, moving left, moving right, moving forwards, moving backwards, circling, swaying, breathing, not holding the breath. I've always liked closing my eyes in this position. And, you might also, you might not, it's fine. When we're clear about why we're doing what we're doing, then we know how to do what we're doing. So we're moving to disappear. It's called Laya Yoga, L-A-Y-A, or Layanam in the nominative singular. Is it Layanam? So it comes from a root that means to melt. To melt. And the principal thing that's melting is the breath. And it's melting away from things that it might grasp. Melting is the same as cutting away. I mentioned the Vajrachedika, the diamond cutter. Or sometimes people just call it the Diamond Sutra. It's such an amazing sutra. If you get a chance, I recommend listening to it. You can get it on Audible. You can buy it, obviously, as a book as well. But it just says, even at the end of the Vajrachedika Sutra, the Buddha says, I hope you don't think I've taught you anything. He's talking to Shariputra. And Shariputra says, oh, no, you didn't teach me anything. It's okay. That's the whole point. It's like, don't cling to anything at all. The whole point of that book is to point to openness. As a way out of reactivity, karma, not gripping anything at all. So breath, movement and breath. Jaw soft. Sorry, you can hear people downstairs probably. Okay, we're coming to the other side. I'm just going to push the door too because the volume's going up downstairs. Sounds like people are having fun. Okay, and then to the other side. So you start in Dandasana, and then the legs go over the other way, similarly. And again, all the instructions I gave before about blocks and blankets. And then, of course, there's time, just kind of working your way in. The difference between a pose that can be integrated and one that can't sometimes is just how long you take, what time you give, and in taking pressure off, letting the pose open up in stages. Shoulders down, don't forget that. Anywhere that's really tight, be aware of that, breathe and move and find ways to cut away whatever the mind takes hold of. It's very, very habituated, isn't it? It's like just grasping all the time. Traditionally, this is seen as the monkey mind, because monkeys in trees are like, as they swing through the tree, they grasp one branch and then another, just grasping. So that's the metaphor. It's not, nobody's saying that monkeys are particularly graspy, but it's just how they get around. It's a good metaphor, like a monkey swinging through the trees, or an ape. And the yoga pose, in the meantime, is inviting us to let go. And some things we're very willing to let go of, and then we meet things we're not willing to let go of because we've held on to them so long. So we almost imagine that they're part of us, but they're not. They're obscuring us. Sometimes we don't let go of something because we think we've got to hold on to it. Maybe it's a grudge, or it's a pet peeve, something that we like to complain about. Very British. And it gives all sorts of senses of illusion, that if I've got something I can complain about, somehow that means no one will look at me because I'm pointing over there. So that's some of the reasons why we get attached. But Vajrachedika, cut away, and Chedika comes from a root chid, which means to cut. And Vajra, you know what that means. It can mean lots of things: lightning bolt, diamond, or just something that can't be. There's nothing it can't penetrate through. So a diamond can cut anything. It's the hardest substance on earth is the diamond. So keep breathing and moving. Okay, such a great pose. Let's come out slow and calm, if you can, gently. And then we're going to extend our legs out. If you've got a belt there, that'd be great. Patika. So I've got a turquoise one, which I'm rather pleased with, the color. And then draw the body flesh out and back when you're ready. And you can do one of two things. Now, you might have, I don't know if this one is, you might have a belt that's just about long enough that you can tie it around you. It depends how long your belt is and how long your legs are. My feeling about this belt is it's not long enough. In fact, I'm 100% clear that it's not, but it would go, in fact, you can see it's not around your feet. We've got other ones that are. Or if your belt, like mine, is not long enough, you bring it around the balls of the feet. And I've tied mine in a loop so that I've got stirrups for my hands. I'm going to make sure that both parts of the belt start off together where it touches my feet. And I'm going to make sure I've got two equal length stirrups. Lovely. Either way, whether you're tying the belt around your feet and around your sacrum, or whether you've got a shorter belt and you tied it in a loop around your feet, spread those toes. Make sure the belt's not squashing the toes. And then move left, right, forwards, backwards, gently investigating height, gently investigating lift, gently investigating space. Height, lift, space, breath. And the reason we rock around is melt some of the extraneous tissue around the hamstrings, soften some of the tensions within the psoas and the breath, therefore. So that gradually, we create height, we create lift, we create buoyancy. That is truly yogic, truly integrative. Keep that breath flowing, keep those eyes soft. Okay, that's great. Really good. Couple more breaths here if you're happy. Okay, and then we're going to take the belt. Now I'm going to get a bigger one, but you can use a dressing gown belt. They are big enough, dressing gown belts. I don't have a dressing gown in this room. This is our yoga space in the house, but I do have other yoga stuff, and I'm going to see if I've got a longer belt. But if you don't, you can do what I'm going to have to do by the look of it, tie two belts together. Although, no, I have found a really long one. That's good. So either tying two belts together or getting your dressing gown belt, or you might be lucky enough to have a very big or big enough belt. It's going to be tied in a loop. We're going to be coming to Parapurna Navasana, by the way. And that's the full boat pose, which I'm sure you know. But the important bit about the belt is that when you tie it around your upper back and your feet, your legs come to a 90-degree angle at the back of the knee. It shouldn't be more than that, and it shouldn't be less than that. Many people, might even say most people, find that the belt does squash either their ankles together or feet together. So you can, if you need to, use the block and put it underneath your feet, which widens the belt. So I'm going to have to loosen mine to show you that, but just a little bit. Or you can put it between your feet, which will stop the feet pressing together. So either way, so I've just loosened my belt a little bit. I'm putting the block in, and I've still got 90 degrees at the back of my knees, which makes me feel pleased. And I'll stay at that angle even if I sneeze. It's enough now, isn't it? Okay, when you're ready, lean back and magically lift the block up. I think it's useful to have the hands behind you because it brings the rhomboids in and stretches the chest muscles and supports you from falling backwards. And then without letting the belt rise up, that's the bit you've got to be mindful of. If it rises up to the armpits, it really becomes redundant at that point. So don't let it rise up. We extend the legs, we keep the chest really open, head in line with the spine, breathing through your nose if you can. Just delicious. Some people find that they want to bring their arms up as well or forward. Then it looks a bit more like the modern postural yoga classic that we see in modern postural yoga classic books like The Light on Yoga. But it's up to you, hands behind you or arms raised. It's fine. You can even have the arms higher, some people do that, or palms up. Look at what gives you the anatomical flow, because that's what we're looking for, the anatomical flow. Still breathing free. I love it. Could stay for ages because it's just really very, very light. But we're going to come down because, of course, time waits for no one. We're going to take the belt off. We're going to take two regular blocks if you've got them, or anything that you can make a little platform. It could be two towels, two regular blocks, long side to long side. You can leave a little gap between them like I have here. Now I've got a gap about the size of 2 bars of a Kit Kat. Unfortunately, they don't make a vegan Kit Kat. Even the dark chocolate one has got milk in it. It's naughty. Anyway, once you've got your blocks, they go on your mat. We're going to come into Supta Sukhasana, by the way. We're going to pull them back and fold the mat over, and then it's cross legs. Okay, fingers facing forwards, tuck the buttocks under, and then you lay down like that. Hopefully that stops the lower back feeling uncomfortable. The same thing might happen with dizziness. So either put something under the head if it does, or simply extend the blood vessels along the back of the neck by running the hands along there so that you have space and you're not putting that compression on the arteries. I'm going to raise the arms. Going to wave them side to side and gradually walk the shoulder blades out and up until the arms come over the head, down onto the floor. And that takes the time it takes. Breathing through your nose if you can. Relaxing the jaw if you can. Repeating actions if you need. And cutting away assumptions, presumptions, ideas and opinions. To let the power of now become expressive. Keep breathing deep and natural. Keep the neck soft. Relax and enjoy. Relax and enjoy. If you're ready to change the cross of the legs, you can at any time. I don't know about you, but it's one of the poses I could lay quite a long time. It's very, very meditative opportunity. If I do, or when I do change the cross of the legs, I quite like scooting the buttocks under. I use my hands just to scoot them under, just to keep that sense of space in the lower back. And again, you might want to reiterate the space on the back of the neck. You can overdo that. You don't want to overstretch the neck, but you don't want your head tipping back either. Again, the arms over the head. You might move them several times. Relax neck. Relax lower back. Relax jaw. And breath, 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 breath. Okay. I hope you feel like you could lose yourself there. We're going to bring our legs back. We're going to roll over. We're going to come up from the side. We're going to open up our mat. You can either sit with those same two blocks, short end facing forwards, and maybe a blanket underneath your shins, or you can sit on a brick block. We're going to sit in Siddhasana. Siddha is an adept. Siddha comes from the root Sid, S-I-D-H. And from there we get words like Siddha and Siddhi, which means an adept, or accomplishments, Siddhis, accomplishments. So Siddhasana is a lovely pose, very broad. Once years ago, somebody asked me, they said, oh, is it because this pose is really good because it's like a pyramid? And they were quite into sort of the new age ideas about pyramids and energy and so on. And I was pretty receptive to that. And I still sort of think maybe there's something in that. But it's certainly got a broad base and a tall top, and it's pyramid-like. And you could even imagine a pyramid-like feeling to it from the front and the back and from the sides if you want. And that sort of stability that a pyramid has with such a broad base and such a narrow top. Breathing through your nose if you can. We're going to send 3 bija mantras. Aum. So it's Om in its older instantiation with the Au, AU together, Aum. And then the Anuswara, the nasal sound at the end. So Aum. We're going to send that up through the central channel. Really try and feel it as viscerally as you can. Let's take our deep breath down to the pelvic floor when we're ready. out of the crown of the head. Let's do the next one when we're ready. The last one. Deep breaths to relax at the end. Drop those shoulders. Release that jaw. Let the buttocks relax. And breathe through your nose if you can. I love sitting like this after the Oms. It's sometimes called Rigpa in Tibetan, which is the Tibetan version of the Sanskrit word vidya, which is the opposite of avidya. It's seeing things as they actually are. Not grasping anything at all. Our final Vajrachedika, our final cutting away of anything that the mind takes hold of, comes now in our Shavasana. So get yourself ready by getting whatever you need for Shavasana, warmer clothes or a blanket or head support, or really whatever you need. Jaw soft, eyes soft, throat soft, brain soft. That's how it's going to be in the pose. So laying yourself flat down on your back, as comfortably as you can. Legs not too wide, arms definitely generously placed so they are wide. There's a lovely song that I like anyway, by an artist that's been kicking around since I was young, and it's called David Sylvian, and his record label is called Samadhi Sound, so that tells you something. Samadhi. And there's a really lovely song. He's got lots of lovely songs, but one that I really like in this context, and I'll put it up on various platforms so you can find it. It's called I Surrender. I often hear it in my head when I'm coming into corpse pose. I surrender. I surrender. I've often caveated that word with the word joyful surrender. It's not like a negative giving up, it's a joyful surrender. Like when you're passing over something to someone you know really can do it well and as well as you would, you're happy then to surrender. Now, of course, because we're practicing at home, we can lay as long as we want or have. When it's time, when you feel it's time, it could be now, but it could be in 5-10 minutes to come out. We'll feel into the body with a little movement of the toes and the fingers and some stretches of the arms and legs, just natural ways in which prana can be felt to extend out through the body, energy, life force. And when ready, the legs will bend and the soles of the feet will come to the floor. And we'll scoot under the buttocks. That gives us a chance to really let go of the low back before rolling to one side with knees up for a few moments or as long as you like. And then rolling to the other side. So as I say, that might be now or it might be in a while. But from wherever we are, we can, internally or externally, just hear these words and feel them, visualize radiating out. As you hear, maybe feel these words. May any benefit that we've gained and are acting in this way go to the alleviation of the suffering of all beings. All. Thank you so much for coming. Sorry, I look like I'm in a dark room. Well, I'm in quite a dark room, but I'm not going to do any photography. Really appreciate your time, and I really look forward to seeing you again soon. So much love to you. Thanks, guys. Thank you. Bye. See you soon. Bye.